Well, all right. MLB 15, the show is almost upon us, just a few days away, and we are really excited about a lot of different things. And we are here tonight to talk about specifically what those things are in what order. Joining me, Rich Grisham, tonight on the show is, as always, from the state of Washington, the biggest Seattle Mariners fan that I know, the man who runs Pasta Padre, Mr. Brian Weedeye. Brian, how are you tonight, sir?
You must not know too many Seattle Mariner fans.
That is the unspoken part of that sentence. Yes.
I root for the team, but I'm not as passionate as I am with the Seahawks or my in the past my Sonics, unfortunately.
And from the great state of New Jersey, the only Braves fan that I know from that sports gamer, Mr. TJ Lauerman. TJ, how are you, sir?
Rich, I think you need a better class of friend if I'm the only Braves fan that you know. I love the Braves so much that I had to send you an anti-Mets GIF this morning.
Oh,
just to remind you what's up with those.
That was mean. That was just flat out mean. I thought we were friends. I thought we've done a lot to help each other out, and that just ruined it all with one fell swoop.
Not even a swoop. Well, I guess the curveball swoop. But Beltran just kind of looked at it. I don't know if the whole thing was about that.
Oh, I didn't even know what it is. It's like, TJ, good morning, Rich Grisham. I click on it, and there's Carlos Beltran ruining my life. I'm just like, I can't look at that. It's just terrible. Actually, he only ruined Well, all right, as I mentioned, MLB 15, the show, almost upon us. Lots and lots and lots of features, many of them subtle, several of them big. We are here tonight to count down what our favorites are. Basically, what happened is the three of us did a offline poll. We each listed our personal 5 things that we were most looking forward to. We put them together to come up with a complete list, and we're going to go over what that list is. But before we get to that, we will give our honorable mentions for items that are features coming up at MLB 15, the show, that did not make the official top 5 countdown. And we're going to start with you, TJ Lauerman. What is your honorable mention?
My honorable mention is improved quick counts. I think I'm one of the few people on the Press Row podcast that actually used and loved quick counts, and having them fix things like pitchers starting with 1-1 counts, so you actually have a chance to sack bunt with them. That's huge. I loved how it sped up the game for me, and I'm looking to see what they can do to make it even better in this year.
Brian Weedeye, what was your honorable mention for new features for MLB 15, the show, that did not make our combined top 5 list?
Yeah, it's a very impactful feature. The ability to bring your saves over from MLB 14 for franchise Road to the Show and season mode saves a ton of time. You get to continue your progress instead of starting over. But that only appeals really to a small segment of people who played and invested that time enough in the last year's game and actually want to continue as opposed to start over. A lot of people actually enjoy starting over. But if you get deep into a franchise mode or a Road to the Show, you may want to continue it. So it doesn't have the reach that some of the other features do, but for the people who actually take advantage of it, that's a pretty big deal.
It's amazing. Had this been any other version of MLB The Show other than this one, that particular feature would have been much more important to me. What actually happened is, last year was the first year I did not spend really any significant amount of time playing Road to the Show, nor did I spend any significant amount of time playing the offline franchise. I spent the vast majority of my time playing the online franchise, which does not really have the year-to-year save carryover feature. But in every other year that I played MLB The Show, in which I spent the vast majority of my time playing Road to the Show, or the franchise, it would have happened. So it's a great feature. I love that it exists, but unfortunately for me personally, it's not going to have the impact this year. But that could change next year. Just the fact that this is part of the foundation of the game, I think, is very important. So I do like that. My personal honorable mention, I lost it. My personal honorable mention is the owner expectations. As you guys know, I've been playing a lot of NBA 2K15, and my GM, in addition to my player, and one of the things that makes my GM stand out from most other franchises, which are just heavily menu-driven, is that there is interaction that you have as a general manager with your coach, with your trainers, with your players and with other general managers and with your owner. And sometimes those interactions are humorous, and you can really choose how to react to them, and you can commit to doing things that they want you to do, or sort of hem and haw or waver or not commit to things. So while I'm not suggesting that MLB The Show is going to break out of its shell and introduce mini cut scenes between managers and GMs and owners, just the fact that they are at least giving you something that you need to be accountable for, I'm at least interested in that. So that made my honorable mention.
Hey, Rich, before we get into the list,
yes,
because I know people are going to say something about it when we're done with this list and after our honorable mentions, let's just make sure in this whole conversation we know that improved online, whatever, stability, gameplay, let's just pretend like we all say that's our number one most important thing, because that's great, but I don't believe any of it until we actually get the game and we're actually playing it and it actually works online.
There's a reason why it's not our number one or our number anything most anticipated feature. We don't anticipate it.
I think after years of being let down, we're kind of numb to it now, and I don't want people to yell at us for not saying that we need better online, because I think we all know that we need better online, so we're just not going into that.
No, TJ, I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a great point, and the fact is the real reason that is not number one on the list is because it is not mentioned as a feature. There is, I don't know, but probably 200 plus individual items that are listed as improvements and features, and online is not one of them. In fact, we had to reach out to the development team to see if, in fact, online franchise was still even part of the game this year. So, yes, great point, TJ. All three of us really want to play in an online league and an online franchise in a meaningful way. So I'm glad you mentioned that. All right, so with that out of the way, let's get to the list. Number 5 on the official most desired or most interested feature that we have is licensed gear. TJ, this was your specific contribution to the list. Tell me why the licensed gear has you so excited.
This is one of those stupid things where I play way too much MLB The Show. So I remember last year they tweeted out like a picture of, it was like the batter, the catcher, and the umpire. And I was like, well, you can tell it looks great, but it's not a real game because you see non-licensed batting gloves. The shin guard doesn't actually fit around the guy's legs. The catcher's gear is all screwed up. So now that they fixed that, that's just one of those things that you're not gonna notice until you notice when Mike Trout comes out with his gloves on or his cleats on. I think they have his really fancy Trout cleats in it that look like fishing lures. So those could look really cool in the game. But yeah, and finally just having like the Wilson A2000 in the game. I mean, these are it's stupid, but these are legendary things that, when you play baseball, you always go when you're looking at gloves and you're like, oh, there's that glove. And now you get to use that actual glove in the game. And I think that's pretty cool. And you get to use those Sam bats with the little gold bat on them. That's pretty awesome. So I think licensed equipment's a big deal for someone who plays so much, and it's those little things that take you out of the game.
Can't argue with one single point of that. As one of the things that we've talked about that sort of makes a game like FIFA even a little cooler is the fact that they get a lot of the subtle nuances about that. Right, and I think while it's not something that I ever considered, knowing that it's there and seeing it, and because the MLB The Show is so detailed when you look at it in replays and stuff, I agree. I think it will add something. It will add different things to different things for different people, but I agree. It is definitely a cool feature. Number 4 on the list is the one specific contribution that I had, meaning I had it and no one else specifically listed it, which is dynamic pitch breaks. And just seeing the word or the phrase dynamic pitch breaks does not necessarily mean anything, but in the parentheses after dynamic pitch breaks, they say that it will help you read pitches better. And that is something I have been looking for in the show since MVP Baseball 05, which to this day has the best implementation for recognizing how to, or for trying to recognize how a pitch is coming in. MLB The Show, for years, it has been extremely difficult to hit well. in MVP05, the better of a hitter you are, the longer there was this little color-coded indication that gave you an idea what kind of pitch it is. And obviously there's a huge difference between a curveball and a changeup and a fastball as far as the speed and the break. So if this, in fact, does what it's supposed to do, and it makes it a little easier to recognize, and hopefully, like MVP05, the better of a hitter you are, perhaps the better of a recognition you get. But even so, if the dynamic pitch breaks do truly help you recognize pitches better and give you a little better of an opportunity to hit, to me personally, that is a huge win, because for as much as I play the show and as many games as I played, and I played hundreds of games last year, in the 100th game, I still probably only got 2 or 3 runs. I mean, I've never played a game so much and had so much difficulty with such a core feature as MLB The Show. I only kept playing it because just, darn it, the game is so good. Brian Weeda, are you on board with that?
Yeah, I think that's important. We go back to features in the past that used to assist you at the plate, whether, one that people remember fondly is MVP baseballs, the color of the ball coming out of the pitcher's hand to give you a chance.
Hitter's eye.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you for specifying the name there, TJ. So it gave you not only a better chance to read what the pitches were, but it was based on attributes. So a better hitter at the plate got a better look at what pitch was coming. So that was always unique.
Yes.
But in every baseball game, what do people struggle with the most? It's like low curveballs. How do you read that? You can't read it very well, or it's just, and a lot also depends on camera angles and how quickly the speed that the pitch comes to the plate, how much opportunity. And as you get to our ages, as you get older, the ability to react so quickly to those things and read it so instantaneously, it's more difficult. So I think that's a positive. Hitting is always described as maybe too difficult on the show, and you say, well, how is it too difficult? What's too difficult about it? And that's probably one of the things, is just how you read the pitches. And if you have a better ability to do that in this year's game, I think that'll benefit a lot of people.
Yeah, and one of the best parts about it is it's not just me, because if you watch some of the streams that the MLB The Show team had, even those guys couldn't hit the ball. So I was like, okay, good. It's not just me. It's everybody. All right, number 3 on the list of features we are most anticipating in MLB 15 The Show. Brian Weeda, this was your unique contribution to the list, something that I definitely agree with, and that is load times. Why is that hit home for you so much?
Yeah, number 1 on my list is loading times, and it's because this is a series that has really suffered from extensive loading times, not just last year, but going into the previous generation on PS3. I mean, I went back and looked because I did an analysis of the load times on PS4 with MLB 14, and these numbers are just staggering. It took 81 seconds to load the game to get to the main menu. When you're sitting there waiting, that's an eternity. That was about 34 seconds longer than it took on the PS3, actually. So we thought we were going to go in and get better loading times with the stronger, the faster hardware, and it actually ended up slowing down. It took 24 seconds to get into just an exhibition game on the PS3. On the PS4, it took 77 seconds, 3 times as long. Where it really impacts you, though, I've always felt, was Road to the Show, especially for someone like me who uses a relief pitcher, and you might go in and get 1 out, or even if you get 3, it can be very quick. You sometimes spend just as much time, it seems like, loading as playing the games. And last year it was 45 seconds to get into a Road to the Show game. So, it doesn't sound like much when you say something is a minute or 45 seconds, but when you're sitting there waiting to play, it feels ridiculously long. So I think not only is it big for just booting up the game and getting into everything, it increases your enjoyment because you're not frustrated by the load times in various areas of the game and how it impacts you depending on what mode you're in, how often you're going into games and the like.
Yeah, I think the thing about that too is it's not something you'll really know you appreciate it until you experience it, and then you'll be like, wow, that was something that I really really do like. So yeah, it's definitely not a it's not something sexy, but boy, from a utilitarian perspective, when you play the game a lot, yeah, that is a big deal.
Yeah.
All right, number 2 on the list is sort of a combination of a few things that we all selected, which is Diamond Dynasty, Universal Rewards, and Legends. TJ Larriman, walk us through, why are you so looking forward to Diamond Dynasty this year as opposed to years past?
Because everything I hated about Diamond Dynasty, they took out.
Okay.
It's literally like they read my blog post from, I think it was last year, when I said I was done with Diamond Dynasty. Everything I complained about is now gone. The contracts on cards are gone. The Dynasty players are gone, except for the one that you can actually do stuff with. You can play multiple positions. I think that might be the most brilliant part of it, because I hated those Dynasty players, but this twist on them I think is brilliant, so I'm really looking forward to using them. The fact that you can earn the rewards just by playing normal games, and you'll get Dynasty packs or Diamond Dynasty packs, well, with the rewards in it, that's awesome. The whole universal reward thing, where you get the golden thong to boost. I think it was like your stamina, your speed, and stuff. I think all that's pretty cool. My one concern is I hope that doesn't really break Road to the Show. Like, I hope you don't give your guy certain things and he's not good, but because of the boosted stuff, he's amazing. That's my one concern. Or that I have to wear an ugly glove if I want +10 fielding. But I'm really excited for all this stuff, especially the Legends, though some of those Legends are a little questionable. But
well, yeah, before we get to the Legends, Universal Rewards are part of this as well. Brian Weedeye, what about the Universal Reward system has you looking forward to that so much?
Yeah, what I like about the Universal Rewards is that it applies to really the entirety of the game and the various modes. So you're basically rewarded for spending time playing the game in various ways, whether that be Diamond Dynasty or Road to the Show or franchise mode. You can get something out of those Universal Rewards, and we're not talking about spending money to do it. So if you're playing Diamond Dynasty, Legends again come into play here, but there are going to be different things that you earn out of those Universal Rewards, and it's kind of a difficult system to explain. I'm not sure I 100% understand it at this point, but what I do like about it, like I said, is that it applies to everything. So if you just play Road to the Show, you're not excluded from earning these rewards and applying them to your player. If you only play Diamond Dynasty, you're going to earn stuff for that mode. If you just play franchise, you can bring in a legend, or you can apply those sponsorships and things to your team.
And Legends are part of this, and yeah, definitely some spirited discussions around the selection of certain Legends. Some are no-brainers, some are like, why that guy over somebody else for these franchises? But the one thing that baseball has over every other sport is the romance around historic players. Not that all of these players are in the game, but I mean Babe Ruth or Joe DiMaggio or Ted Williams or Mickey Mantle, Ty Cobb. I mean, some of the names that are in baseball speak more about the sport than really any other sports. The only other sport I think that even kind of can compare is basketball, and that's because in both baseball and basketball it's a lot easier to, not easier, but I mean it's a lot more recognizable to see particular batting stances in baseball or throwing motions, or in basketball certain moves like a sky hook for Kareem or the Jerry West pass. So certainly in football and in hockey, those kinds of things don't translate. So I personally like the Legends aspect. I really think if done well, Legends can really add even more to baseball. And it's not that it hasn't been done before, but it certainly has not been done in the next generation console. So I think that definitely holds some promise. So the number one most anticipated feature that collectively the three of us wound up agreeing on, and I think it was really basically a landslide, right? It was the only one that all three of us specifically ranked, is player emotion. TJ Larriman, why is player emotion? Why do you think all of us had it so highly ranked?
Because we're all tired of seeing the same home run celebration. That's obviously it. unlike you guys, I am a very good hitter in MLB The Show, so I see the same home run animations a lot. So hopefully this clears that up. We get some bat flips in there. We get a little flair, a little hi-ya. I'm pretty excited.
Brian, we'd have saying
after a strikeout. That's what I want to see.
To me, when I look at my favorite sports games every year, often at the top are the games that really invoke emotion. And that's what you get from those moments. I always go back to moments. In FIFA, FIFA does the moment better than any other sports game.
Mm-hmm.
With the show, you can have those moments, but often you'd be taken out of them by what you're seeing or what you're hearing, and just kind of a lack of personality. It was, a very good game, a very authentic game, but then you go back to licensed equipment too. It just lacks some personality, some attachment to the players and the teams, and bringing in that emotion and the reaction to the moments, and just being able to identify that in the certain players. You may not be a fan of Yasiel Puig, but you see his bat flip, it makes you think of real life. It makes you think of those moments in real life. So I think that's the key for me. I can overlook problems in games if they give me those moments that are so memorable, and that's what it comes down to for me. And I think that's something, again, regardless of whatever mode you're playing, you're going to get something out of that.
And it's really been the promise for sports games of the next generation. If you go back to when the next generation console sports games were revealed, I mean, emotion and and the crowds, that was a big part of it. Like, not just the players, but also the crowds and reacting to things differently and feeling more like immersed, like you're there. That was a big thing. And to me, FIFA's the only one that's gotten it even close to right. NBA 2K does a nice job at times. Madden does a decent job at times. But I don't think any of us would say that we are where we can be. And, of course, these are annual releases. It's a process to get. You're always building towards something. So it will be very interesting to me to see, how not, again, like I said, not just the players or the managers, but the combination of the players on the field and the crowd, how it continues to feel more alive and more specific. I mean, one of the things that I've always sort of wished would be better would be the difference between, opening day is like electric. It's a big deal. It's a sold-out crowd. And then, mid-May, Tuesday night, Padres, Astros, it's not really that big of a deal. It's not the most important game. And, a midsummer July, interleague game between, Cincinnati and Seattle is this and that and the other thing. But then all of a sudden, maybe it's like late August or mid-September, and it's a pennant race, and things are a little more important every pitch. And then near the end of the season, a team's fighting for the playoffs, and then in the playoffs you have the bunting, and the crowd's really into it. Like, baseball games have very, very, very different feels depending upon what time of the season is. Like a college football game or an NFL game, it doesn't feel that dramatically different, because the games, there's so many less games and they're so important. But boy, baseball, depending upon where you are in the season and what's going on, could have a wildly different feel to it.
Look at the Royals' journey last year. I mean, that was amazing. And then we can talk about specific team-specific players, like here in Seattle, Felix Hernandez. Every time he pitches, you got the King's Court, which is just an incredible, unique thing in baseball. Yeah. I don't know. I actually don't know. I think they probably would have talked about it if they had implemented it. I tweeted last summer, like, they have to get King's Court in the show, and I haven't heard anything about it, so I'm assuming it's not in. But there are so many unique things, ballpark to ballpark or player to player, that's really where they need to go to improve on the experience, again, of playing the games and connecting with as a sports fan, what you're so passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like seeing the Atlanta Braves play a playoff game to a half-empty stadium, right, TJ? I mean, that's what happens.
Well, he don't want to have to worry about that.
Play the Mets in Citi Field. I guess that's what would happen. Yeah, you're right.
You won't have to worry about it this season, TJ.
never know. These Mets pitchers are going down left and right, so the Braves might be a shoe in for the division.
It's a disaster. 2 of them out for the year before the first day of spring training. It's ridiculous.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's the Mets for you. Meet the Mets. See you later, Mets.
And in the show, Rich, you can live out your dream of the Mets still not winning the World Series.
Hey, or you can do what you did with the Brooklyn Nets, and you can just get all those players out of there and bring in some guys who can play.
That's right. Up 2-1 against LeBron and the Cavs right now. So, well, all right.
If you turn injuries off in the show, the Nets are going to have a pretty good team. Think about it that way.
I just might have to do that. Well, all right. TJ Larman, Brian Weedeye, thank you guys so much for coming on. I am excited for the show. It's it's an iterative annual game, but boy, there's a lot to look forward to this year. I think we listed some good stuff. There's a lot more other good stuff, and of course, we will continue to have a lot of coverage about the show right up to the release, and then once it comes out. So, looking forward to experiencing all of this with you, fine gentlemen, once again this year. So, on behalf of TJ Larman from Pasta Padre. TJ Larman from That Sports Gamer. TJ Larman from That Sports Gamer. Brian Weedeye from Pasta Padre. I'm Rich Grisham. Thank you, everybody, and we'll talk to you again real soon.